Thank you for watching this video. To best support the channel, please take a moment and click the subscribe button. Also, the links to purchase this fly and the materials to tie the fly are in the description. In today's video, we're going to tie up the Chewie Damsel, a pattern intended for carp, but can really be fished for any other species that are chasing bigger damsel nymphs. In the vise, we're putting a Moonlit Tagata ML 801 hook in size 6, and we're using some 6/0 black classic wax thread from Semperfli. We'll go ahead and get started by placing a pair of medium bead chain eyes right behind the eye of the hook. The nice thing about this fly pattern is it's really easy to change the depth profile that you're fishing at with this fly by just changing the eyes from either medium bead chain to large bead chain or to some brass or lead dumbbell eyes. So we'll get those tied on. We'll do some crossing wraps over the top and then do some crossing wraps towards the back as well, and then we'll just lock everything in place with some over-under wraps. And then we'll go ahead and grab our first color of marabou. On this particular version, we're tying it with some burnished golden tan, so a lighter color of marabou, and we're measuring it one hook length out from where our tie-in point is. We're going to tie in right there, and it'll be one hook length beyond that. And we'll lock that in with a couple of tight tying wraps and trim out all of our excess. And set this off to the side because we'll be using this feather here again shortly. That's why we're trimming it off where we are rather than tying it the entire body length of the fly. Then we'll grab our second color, which is going to be some Sculpin Olive, which is just going to be our darker color. We want the lighter color to be underneath just so it gives a little bit of light to the fly and contrast when this fly flips upside down or hook point up when we're fishing it. And we'll trim this section out as well. And then we'll go ahead and lock everything into place. Make sure we try and clean that up just a little bit. Don't worry if it's a little messy because we're going to be covering it up and it's going to get really messy here in a second. And we're going to go about halfway into the curve of the bend of that hook for our tying point. That makes it so that that marabou plume sticks out a little bit more when it's laying on the bottom. Now we're grabbing some baby scud back, and we're going to go ahead and just tie that in after trimming it. Tie that in right at the back of our fly to give kind of a buggy shell to our fly. From here, we're going to go ahead and create a dubbing loop. So we'll loop our thread around, wrap around it a couple of times, tie it off nice and tight, and work our way back just a little bit. And then advance our threads to right behind the eye of the hook. In here, we're going to take both of those previous two feathers. We're going to have our tan and our olive feathers, and we're going to pull those to the side. So we find the stem and pull it to the side and just pinch and hold. And we're going to trim out a bunch of the fluff on there. And we're going to have these two tones of marabou fluff get stuck into our dubbing loop, trying to get that in so it's at the midpoint. And we'll go ahead and do that a second time real quick. And then we're going to spread this out just a little bit to kind of fill out the loop that we've created. And now that we've got that adjusted or in there, we're going to go ahead and kind of move our fibers around, make sure that they're pretty close to the halfway point on all of them. Spread it out and then start spinning it up. This is one of my favorite things about fly tying, is spinning dubbing loops. I love watching it spin. You can see that it's going to have a very unique mottled look. No two of these flies are going to be the exact same, but they're all going to have this kind of mottled two-color marabou look. And go ahead and brush that out, spin it up tighter, and once you've got your loop as tight as you want it to, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping on this hook. And as you wrap, you're going to want to preen your fibers back. Oh, I left a little bit too much space. I have to go and fix my first wrap in. There we go. And just preen everything back as you go. So Start a wrap. Before it gets trapped, pull everything to the back, wrap forward again. And you're going to keep this process of touching wraps and pruning fibers back until you get right behind the bead chain eyes of this fly. And you can see this is a giant ball of fluff right now. And we're going to trim this down and clean it up and make it something a little bit easier fished here in just one moment. Okay, I've got all the way right behind the bead chain eyes. I'm going to grab my tying thread and capture this dubbing loop so that it doesn't unravel and unwind on me. So we've got one wrap catching, two wraps catching, and we're just going to advance our thread to right behind the eye now. We're going to grab our scissors, cut this out. Then we're going to take our thread back and put it back behind the bead chain eye now, just so it's not jumping too much. So we're going to pull all these fibers down, pluck out any of the crazy ones, pull these fibers down and back. And then we're just going to take that scud back and go right through the middle of all of it. Then catch the scud back right behind the bead chain eyes, and then go ahead and advance your thread to between the bead chain eyes and the eye of the hook and capture the scud back once again. Tie that in nice and tight. Pull tight, make sure everything's in there secure. And then pull tight and snip your scissors. From here, we're going to go ahead and complete our whip finish. Pull your thread tight and complete the whip finish. And then we'll cut out our tying thread. From what I'll do here is I'm not going to cut the material. I'm going to take my scissors and kind of saw through it. So pull the marabou down and just kind of rub the blade of the scissors against it. And that'll give you a not cut but trimmed kind of look to shorten up those fibers a little bit so that they're just a little bit wider than the hook gap. And that's the nice thing about marabou is it's going to flatten down and smooth out really nicely, so we're not going to worry too much about it. Then from here, we're going to go ahead and grab some thick resin. It's a Raid Zap Thick. Then we're going to put that on that scud back so that we can go ahead and protect it and give a nice smooth surface for when this fly is swimming across the bottom. And grab our UV light. Oh, we're going to spread this out first and then we'll grab our UV light. Just make sure everything's nicely spread out on there. Look for any big gaps in between the eyes of the dumbbells, or let's try that again. Look for any gaps between the dumbbell eyes and the scud backing so that we can make sure that those are protected. And this will just give you some additional durability to the fly by coating that with the UV resin. And then once that's done, you'll have a completed fly. I'm going to go back through and I'm going to see that there's a handful of extra fluff pieces of this marabou, so I'm going to go back through, grab my scissors, take the fly out of the vise, and clean that up just a little bit. It's not necessary, it's just I'd rather not have any extra long ones floating out there. But this fly is ready to fish for carp. Fish it for carp that are on the move or swimming really slowly, and it should get lots of attention. It's got a lot of moving bits. Please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and have a great day.